obscure classical pieces but froze on Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. It came down to the final round. Alice and Jolene were tied. The prize, a brand new convertible, and $5,000. The host played the final song. A few notes of a familiar, scratchy melody. Alice knew it. It was the song she had sung in the failed musical. But then she looked at Jolene. Jolene, who was sending money home to her family. Jolene, who drove a car held together by duct tape and prayers. Alice hesitated. But, Jolene? The host asked. That's New York, New York, Jolene shouted. Correct. Confetti rained down. Jolene screamed and hugged the host. Alice smiled, clapping politely. Back at the diner, Mel was furious. You knew that one, Alice. I saw it in your face. You choked. That was my 10%. I didn't choke, Mel, Alice said quietly, watching Jolene show off her oversized check to Henry and the regulars. Then why didn't you buzz in? Alice untied her apron, tossing it onto the counter. Sometimes, she said, winking at him, the music sounds better when someone else sings the winning note. She walked toward the kitchen. Now, order up, Mel. We've got customers waiting. Alice, The Phoenix Chronicles. Book I. Chaos and Consequences. Chapter 10. The Midnight Call. The phone rang at 2 a.m. A harsh, jagged sound that sliced through the quiet of Alice's apartment like a serrated knife. It was the kind of ring that never brought good news. No one called at that hour to say they won the lottery or that world peace had been declared. Alice fumbled for the receiver, her heart already hammering a frantic rhythm against her ribs. Hello? The voice was Tommy's, but stripped of its usual collegiate confidence. It was small, tight, and echoed slightly, as if he were calling from inside a tin can. Tommy? What's wrong? Are you okay? Alice sat up, clutching the sheet to her chest. I'm okay, physically, Tommy stammered. But I'm at the station. The police station. Alice felt the blood drain from her face. The police station? Tommy, what did you do? It was just a party, Mom. Me and a buddy. We were just blowing off steam after midterms. Tommy explained, his voice cracking. We might have indulged in some wild reveling, and now I'm on the other side of the law. The drive to the precinct was a blur of neon lights and maternal panic. Alice's mind raced. Tommy, her golden boy, the kid she had driven halfway across the country to give a better life, was sitting in a cell. She imagined him in stripes, breaking rocks, or worse, sharing a cell with a man named Knuckles. When she arrived, Tommy looked less like a hardened criminal and more like a terrified child who had stayed up past his bedtime. He was sitting on a wooden bench, his tie askew, next to a college friend who looked equally green. Wild reveling? Alice asked, standing over him with crossed arms. Is that what they call it now? In my day, we called it acting like an idiot. I'm sorry, Mom, Tommy whispered. The bail was posted, the lectures were delivered, and the ride home was silent. Alice looked at her son, really looked at him. He was growing up, making mistakes that were no longer fixable, with a band-aid and a cookie. The desert city of Phoenix, which had once seemed like a land of opportunity, suddenly felt full of sharp edges. Chapter 11. The Guardian Angel from Hell. While Alice dealt with the legal system, Jolene Honeycutt found herself entangled in a different kind of trap, one disguised as a rescue. It started on a Tuesday night. Jolene was closing up the diner, walking to her car in the darkened lot, when a shadow detached itself from the building. Before she could scream, a mugger lunged. But before the mugger could grab her purse, a mountain of muscle intervened. A night watchman, patrolling the nearby warehouse district, tackled the assailant with the force of a falling anvil. The mugger fled into the night, leaving Jolene breathless and the watchman dusting off his hands. Are you all right, ma'am? The watchman asked. His name was Barney, and he was built like a vending machine, with a mustache. I think so, Jolene gasped, clutching her chest. You saved my life. You're a hero, Barney puffed out his chest. Just doing my duty, little lady, It should have ended there. A thank you, a handshake, perhaps a free slice of pie. But Barney, it turned out, interpreted saving a life as a binding contract of eternal devotion. The next day, Barney was at the diner. He wasn't eating, he was watching. He sat in the corner booth, glaring at every male customer who dared to ask Jolene for a refill on coffee. "He's staring at me again," Jolene whispered to Alice in the kitchen. "He looks like a bulldog guarding a bone." "He thinks he's your boyfriend now," Alice observed, peeking through the service window. "You know the old saying, you save it, you bought it." "I didn't ask to be bought," Jolene hissed. "I just didn't want to be mugged." The situation escalated when Barney began protecting Jolene from things that didn't require protection. He threatened the mailman for delivering a bill. "Jolene, you gotta dump the hook," Mel warned, watching Barney crack a walnut with his bare eyelids. "He's scaring the customers. And he's eating all the complimentary crackers." "I'm trying," Jolene wailed. "But every time I try to let him down gently, he flexes his neck, and I get scared he'll think I'm threatening myself." In the end, it took the combined diplomatic efforts of Alice, Vera, and a very brave Mel to convince Barney that Jolene was safe enough to be left alone. "You take care of her," Barney told Mel, pointing a finger the size of a sausage. "Or I'll be back." "Don't worry," Mel squeaked. "She's in good hands. Soft, unmuscular hands." Chapter 12. The Porsche Paradox. Just as the dust settled from Tommy's arrest and Jolene's stalker, Mel Sharples decided it was time to create his own catastrophe. He walked into the diner one morning with a stride that suggested he had just conquered a small country. He was twirling a set of keys on his finger. "Feast your eyes, girls," Mel announced, pointing out the window. Parked at the curb, shining like a silver bullet in the Arizona sun, was a Porsche. A sleek, low-slung, high-performance machine that looked as out of place in front of Mel's diner as a tiara on a warthog. "Mel?" Alice asked, stepping outside. "Neither," Mel grinned, leaning against the hood. "I bought it. It's my dream car." "You bought a Porsche?" Vera touched the fender reverently. "Does it have a kitchen?" "It has horsepower. Dingy." $20? Alice repeated, her skepticism radar pinging loudly. "Mel, a bicycle costs more than $20. A good steak costs more than $20. The guy was desperate," Mel insisted. "He was going through a divorce. He said, 'I want this car out of my life. Give me a 20 and it's yours.' It's the deal of the century." "Mel, that's not a deal," Alice said gently. "That's a felony waiting to happen. It's probably stolen." "You're just jealous," Mel scoffed. "You're looking at a man who has finally arrived. I am now a Porsche owner. I am elite. For exactly 4 hours, Mel was the king of Phoenix." He sat in the car, revving the engine, which sounded suspiciously like a lawnmower. He insisted the waitresses address him as Mr. Sharples. Then, the police arrived. Not for Tommy this time, but for the car. "Mel Sharples?" the officer asked. "That's me." Mel smiled, leaning out the window. "Admiring the ride?" Confiscating the evidence, the officer corrected. "This car was reported stolen from a dealership in Tucson 3 days ago. The guy going through a divorce is a con artist known as Slippery Pete." Alice watched from the diner window as the tow truck hooked up the Silver Dream. Mel stood on the curb, his driving gloves looking ridiculous, clutching his $20 bill of sale. "Well," Jolene said, wiping down the counter. "Easy come, easy go. I think he's going to cry," Vera noted. "Let him." Alice sighed, pouring a fresh cup of coffee. "It's been a long month. We could all use a good cry." As the tow truck dragged the Porsche away, Mel trudged back into the diner. He looked smaller, older, and infinitely more tired. "Coffee, Mel?" Alice asked softly. Mel looked at her. "Yeah, Mel? If anyone comes in selling a yacht for $5, tell them I'm in a meeting." Alice smiled. "You got it, boss." Outside, the desert sun continued to beat down on the asphalt, indifferent to the dreams, scams, and heartbreaks of the people inside. They were just specks in the vastness of the Southwest, trying to find a little shade, a little luck, And maybe, just maybe,